When these sterile drugs are manufactured, they're manufactured in a clean room. Part of assessing and trending how clean that environment is something called environmental monitoring. You need to make sure drugs are safe and effective for use. They need to make sure that they've gone through the correct manufacturing process, ensuring that you've got data quality, that traceability.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for another executive interview. Today we are joined in the studio by Brent Barnes, CEO and Managing Director of LBT Innovations, an ASX listed company that is revolutionizing the pharmaceutical manufacturing with AI technology. Brent, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Now, Brent, LBT Innovations has developed the APAS independence and AI-driven technology for automating culture plate reading. So for our audience, can you explain how this technology actually addresses the critical issues of data integrity and efficiency in pharmaceutical manufacturing?
Yeah, so maybe I'll start by kind of pharmaceutical manufacturing and what that means, because it's a pretty kind of broad term. So maybe kind of put your mind into biologics manufacturing. It's a high kind of throughput, sterile drug. That's kind of the end outcome that we're talking about. And so when these sterile drugs are manufactured, they're manufactured in a clean room. So it's kind of like a room that's designed to be super, super clean. In fact, it's aseptically clean. So it has to be a sterile type of environment. And there's a whole bunch of controls that are at play to keep the environment clean. Yeah. Part of assessing and trending how clean that environment is something called environmental monitoring, where culture plates are put inside of the room and they're continuously kind of rotated through, incubated, and then they're read by microbiologists. And so that's kind of what happens in every aseptic manufacturing facility globally today. And so when you think about kind of data integrity and what the kind of the criticality of that process is to a patient, well, you need to make sure drugs are safe and effective for use. They need to make sure that they've gone through the correct manufacturing process. And so following the procedures are super important for our customers, ensuring that you've got data quality, that traceability, all of that information that's needed in order to release that batch of drugs to the market that is ultimately safe and effective for use. And so that's kind of that's the space that we operate in. It's a highly regulated kind of environment that we operate, and data integrity, quality of the results are really important parts of getting that process right to get drugs into the market.
I understand. That's truly very fascinating. Now, let's talk about a recent milestone for the company. So, your company recently secured a significant contract with AstraZeneca. So, can you tell us how this deal actually validates your technology and what impact are you anticipating that it will have on LBT's market position?
So AstraZeneca are a household name. It's really great to have them as a cornerstone partner of ours. So what we announced last week was AstraZeneca buying 5 of our APAS independence instruments. And so their strategy, having kind of gone through a validation of our AI technology to automate that culture plate workflow, has kind of largely been completed, and they've made the decision to look to standardize automating a currently manual process that is prone to data integrity issues and quality issues, and using our technology as the standard tool, if you like, through at least their largest manufacturing sites globally. And so this first 5, if you like, we think is going to be an initial order, but it's a really great start, right? And so we'll look to ship the 5 instruments now over the next 6 months. We'll probably aim to have it all kind of finished by the end of this calendar year. And what that will mean for AstraZeneca is that they've got a standardized, digitized platform to automate the reading, reporting of that environmental monitoring process in a way that will supplement or change the way that they've been doing it in previous years. So it really revolutionizes what their current process is and ties back to that need that I mentioned at the start, where you've got this kind of manual process. Data integrity is so important, and now they're moving, if you like, to the 21st century with a digital way to be able to automate this manual process.
I understand. Thanks for explaining that. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. So, the addressable market for technology is estimated at 2.8 billion Australian dollars. So, how does LBT plan to capture a significant share of this market, and what growth trajectory do you envision for your company?
Yeah, so it's a big market, and I think every company maybe like we do, we put these big numbers out, right? So it's a big addressable market, nearly $3 billion. And there are many, many global aseptic manufacturing sites at the moment. But I think kind of back to your question, so how are we going to capitalize?
Yeah.
What we're doing is that we're being laser focused on the top 20 biggest pharmaceutical manufacturing companies by revenue. AstraZeneca is obviously in that list. And the reason why we're doing that is, one, we don't have a large sales organization. We're the new kids on the block, so it's a new technology that we're looking to create a new standard for environmental monitoring. And so rather than going to that expense of building out a hugely expensive sales organization, let's focus on those biggest manufacturers who have the ability and could benefit from standardizing across multiple of their manufacturing facilities. And so that's why we're focusing in that way. And so I call it land and expand, if you like. It's landing one customer. So using AstraZeneca as the example, we've been working with them and we've been working with one of their facilities. And what they've done is that they've kind of validated or gone through that validation process, and now they're expanding through their network as a phased approach. And so when we think about, okay, how are we going to capitalize on the market? It's going to take years to capitalize on such a big addressable market. So, we obviously have ambitions to do there, but bringing it back to, well, what's our strategy? Where are we spending our resources now over the next 12, 18, 24 months? And what's the real success of that? Well, let's be successful selling into top pharmaceutical companies who could benefit from multiple instruments across multiple manufacturing sites globally. So that's really our strategy to try to capture that market.
Amazing and very compelling strategy indeed. Now, speaking of growth, there's an interesting trend in the pharmaceutical sector. So with the pharmaceutical contract drug manufacturing sector that is forecasted to grow at 7.6% until 2030, can you tell us how is LBT positioning itself to capitalize on this trend?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, we're in the market. So we are the new kids on the block, but we have identified this to be a really compelling market. We've identified a genuine need for our customers, where they're currently manually reviewing thousands of these culture plates every single day. They actually have 2 microbiologists look at all of the plates, and that's to reduce any data integrity issues. So we're already, I guess, in an environment that is attractive and it's growing. And when you think about drug manufacturing and you think about, the pandemic that we had and this kind of view where we want to have local manufacturing as a sovereign capability here in Australia, but that's representative, I think, of kind of global markets too. It's one where we need to be laser focused, again, top 20, but more broadly, we're at the beginning of this kind of growth trajectory in a market that's really exciting.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Now let's dive deeper into one of the key issues that your technology addresses. So data integrity, as we have touched upon it, it's a critical issue in pharmaceutical manufacturing. So with 86% of warning letters that are citing related problems, so how does your AI technology specifically address these regulatory concerns?
Yeah, I think that 86% kind of is a good data point. I probably picked it up from one of our presentations. And so what that means is that because it is a regulated process, it's referring to when the regulators go in and audit a manufacturing process. So the US FDA, for example, goes into AstraZeneca, Pfizer, J&J, one of the big, any manufacturing facility that's going through a drug manufacturing process. And that reference looks at citations related to problems that they've identified. And a 483 is a letter that's issued by the US FDA, and it kind of outlines those issues. And that's where the data integrity kind of reference is in there. And so when you think about what our technology is trying to do and is delivering, like we are imaging plates, we have an algorithm that interprets the growth on the plate, and we have a digital interface that passes that information through to a laboratory information management system. And so comparing that to the current process, Brent Barnes looks at a plate today, I key in the information manually, there's no permanent record of that result. And so, what we're able to do through an imaging platform is we've got a permanent record of the plate, we've got an algorithm that will interpret what Brent Barnes will look at, and then rather than me keying it in, it's digitally interfaced to the laboratory information management system. So what we're doing, that value proposition is really all about improving the quality, a permanent record of the plate, improving the traceability. Those results are passed through to the laboratory information system without any human interaction, and we're doing it more effectively and more efficiently. So about 3 times faster, our system will do it than the current manual process. And so, it bodes very well when we think about some of those trends that we're seeing around the industry and some of, from the regulators saying, well, they know that there are issues with the current processes that exist. And this is where, it's really ripe for automation. It's a perfect application for AI-based technologies.
Absolutely. Thanks for explaining that, Brent. Now, as we wrap up, looking ahead, what are LBT's key milestones and objectives for, let's say, the next 12 to 24 months, and how do these actually align with creating value for investors?
Yeah, I'll kind of describe it. We're at the bottom of a mountain of opportunity. So when you think about, we've spent a lot of time inventing the technology and validating that it worked. And so that kind of technology risk, if you like, is done. We've validated the product. We did that in March of this year. And now we've got an order from AstraZeneca. In fact, we've got 7 sales and we'll ship 9 instruments this calendar year. So that, when I say at the bottom of a mountain of opportunity, we're just the new kids on the block just getting started. But the technology risk is kind of really mitigated from an investor perspective. And so really, I think it's kind of considering, well, how is LBT going to be positioned to execute on that commercialization opportunity? How are we going to get into the top 20 biggest pharma companies? And, we announced recently that we've got installations and evaluations started with 2 other big pharma customers. So not in addition to AstraZeneca, there are other big pharma customers. And so that's already kind of started right now. And so when you think about the outlook, when you think about our commercialization success and a market cap here today of $27 million, it demonstrates that we're just getting started. But there is so much opportunity ahead of us. And we've got a pipeline of sales that are in front of us that is super compelling. And so firstly, just thinking the next 6 months, let's get out and deliver these 5 instruments. Let's get that kind of done. But we've developed the product for an industry, not just for AstraZeneca. So let's further expand outside of AZ. So get the 5 done, then let's look to expand beyond that. Let's look to finalize these 2 evaluations towards the end of the year and see what that might look like, and really execute that land and expand strategy over the next 12 to 18 months. And I guess from the financial side, really that will see us pushing through to cash flow positivity as a company. It's an important milestone that the board set, and that we'll expect that kind of in the second half of calendar year 2025. And I guess finally, just on the kind of financials, we did raise money at the end of last year. We're not looking to raise capital here in the near term. We're really focused on that profitability milestone. And, the board of management put a lot of our own money in this. So we're kind of very much aligned with shareholders. We own 23% collectively of the company. And we're on this kind of bottom of a mountain of opportunity trajectory where we just see a lot of value for shareholders, which is kind of the last part of your question there, as we look to execute kind of these milestones over the next 12, 18, 24 months.
Amazing. I have to say, very exciting times indeed for LBT. Thank you so much, Brent, for sharing these wonderful insights about LBT and the exciting developments that are there in the AI-driven pharmaceutical manufacturing. For those who are interested in getting in touch with the team at LBT, please see the details at the side of your screen or in the description of this video. Once again, thank you, Brent. It's been a wonderful conversation, and our team wishes you all the luck with your venture.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.